My own husband looked me in the eyes and said I was too ugly to be seen with his family. Those words cut deeper than any knife ever could. But what he didn't know was that I had already bought my dress, booked my hair appointment, and made my decision. If you've ever felt like you weren't enough, if someone has ever made you question your worth, then this story is for you. Hit that like button right now if you believe every woman deserves to know her value. And stick around because what happened next will shock you. My name is Tiffany, and 3 years ago I thought I had found my forever person. Derek was everything I thought I wanted in a man. He was stable, had a good job as an accountant, and when he smiled at me across that crowded coffee shop where we first met, I felt like the luckiest woman alive. He was charming, funny, and for the first time in my life, I felt completely comfortable being myself around someone. We were inseparable from day one. Derek would pick me up from my job at the marketing firm with flowers just because it was Tuesday. He'd leave little notes in my purse that I'd find during boring meetings. We'd spend entire weekends in bed talking about everything and nothing, planning our future together. When he proposed after 18 months, I didn't hesitate for a second. This was it. This was my person. Looking back now, I realized there were signs. Little comments he'd make about my hair when I wore it natural. The way he'd suggest I wear more makeup when we went to nice restaurants. How he always wanted to take photos in dim lighting. But love makes you blind, doesn't it? I convinced myself he was just trying to help me look my best. I thought he wanted me to shine. The problems really started when that wedding invitation arrived in our mailbox. His cousin Brandon was getting married to his college girlfriend, and it was going to be this huge fancy affair at some country club I'd never heard of. I was so excited. In the 3 years Derek and I had been together, I'd only met his parents and his sister. His extended family lived across the country, and this would be my first time meeting everyone as his wife. I immediately started planning. I found this gorgeous burgundy dress that hugged my curves in all the right places. I booked an appointment with the best hairstylist in town. I even bought new shoes and a matching clutch. For weeks, I couldn't stop talking about it. I'd show Derek pictures of hairstyles I was considering. Ask him what jewelry he thought would look best. But instead of sharing my excitement, he seemed nervous, anxious, even. My family is pretty traditional, he'd say when I brought up the wedding. They can be particular about things. I brushed it off. Every family has their quirks, right? I figured once they got to know me, they'd love me just like Derek did. At least that's what I thought Derek felt about me. 2 weeks before the wedding, everything changed. I was in our bedroom trying on my dress one more time and asking Derek to zip me up when he just stood there. He wouldn't even look at me. His face had this expression I'd never seen before, like he was about to deliver bad news. "Tiffany," he said, his voice flat and distant. "I don't think you should come to the wedding." I laughed. I actually laughed because I thought he was joking. "What do you mean? It's your cousin's wedding." "Of course, I'm coming. I'm your wife." But Derek wasn't laughing. He sat down on the edge of our bed and ran his hands through his hair. "My family has certain expectations. You wouldn't fit in with them." The words hit me like a physical blow. I could feel my chest tightening, my breath getting shorter. "What are you talking about? What expectations?" And then he said it. The words that would haunt me for months afterward. You're not what they're expecting. You're too different from them. Too urban. They wouldn't understand you." "Urban," I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. "Derek, what are you really saying?" He looked up at me then, and I saw something in his eyes that made my blood run cold. Shame. He was ashamed of me. "Look, you're beautiful, okay? But you're not. You're not their kind of beautiful. You wouldn't photograph well with the family. And honestly, Tiffany, you can be a little too much sometimes. Your laugh is loud. Your personality is big. This is supposed to be Brandon's day, not yours." I stood there in that burgundy dress, feeling like my world was crumbling around me. "Are you saying I'm too ugly for your family?" The silence that followed was deafening. Derek didn't deny it. He just sat there avoiding my eyes. And that silence was louder than any words he could have spoken. That night, after Derek went to bed, I locked myself in our bathroom and cried until I had no tears left. I looked at myself in the mirror, really looked, and for the first time in years, I saw myself through someone else's cruel lens. My dark skin that I'd always loved suddenly seemed wrong. My full lips, my wide nose, my kinky hair. Everything about me felt inadequate. How could the man who promised to love me forever think I was too ugly to be seen in public with his family? I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. For days, I walked around our house like a ghost, questioning everything about myself, about our marriage, about the last 3 years of my life. Had Derek always felt this way? Were all those sweet gestures just him trying to convince himself he could love someone like me? Was I really that repulsive? But then something shifted. I was sitting in my car in the parking lot of a grocery store having a complete breakdown when I remembered something my grandmother used to tell me. "Baby girl," she'd say, "nobody can make you feel small without your permission. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And don't you let anybody tell you different." In that moment, sitting there with tears streaming down my face, I realized I had a choice. I could let Derek's words define me, or I could show him and myself who I really was. I thought about that dress hanging in our closet. I thought about the hair appointment I hadn't cancelled. I thought about how excited I'd been just weeks before, and I made a decision that would change my life forever. I was going to that wedding. The next morning, after Derek left for work, I called my hairstylist and confirmed my appointment. I drove to the mall and bought the most stunning pair of earrings I could find. I booked a makeup artist for the morning of the wedding. If Derek thought I was too ugly for his family, then I was going to show up looking like the queen I was born to be. The night before the wedding, Derek reminded me that I was staying home. He actually patted me on the head like I was a dog and said, "Thanks for understanding, babe. I'll take lots of pictures for you." I just smiled and nodded, letting him believe he'd won. That Saturday morning, Derek left early to help with wedding preparations. As soon as his car pulled out of our driveway, I went into overdrive. My hairstylist came to the house and gave me the most gorgeous updo I'd ever had. My makeup artist arrived next and painted my face like I was walking a red carpet. When I slipped into that burgundy dress, I looked in our full-length mirror and barely recognized myself. I wasn't just beautiful. I was radiant. I was powerful. I was everything Derek said I wasn't and more. The drive to the country club felt like the longest 30 minutes of my life. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. Part of me wanted to turn around and go home, but I kept hearing my grandmother's voice reminding me that I was fearfully and wonderfully made. When I walked into that church, you could have heard a pin drop. Everyone turned to look at me. I held my head high and walked down that aisle like I owned the place. I found a seat in the back and watched as Derek's eyes found mine from the front of the church where he was sitting with the groomsmen. The look on his face was priceless. Shock, anger, panic, all rolled into one. His mother, sitting in the front row, turned around to see what had caused the commotion. When she saw me, her mouth fell open. But here's the thing that surprised me most. She didn't look disgusted. She looked impressed. After the ceremony, Derek stormed over to me. "What the hell are you doing here?" he hissed under his breath. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "I'm supporting your family like wives do." The reception was where things got really interesting. Instead of hiding in the corner like Derek probably expected, I introduced myself to everyone. I talked to his aunts and uncles, complimented the bride, danced with his elderly grandfather, who told me I was the most beautiful woman in the room. But the real revelation came when I was talking to Derek's cousin, Lisa, in the bathroom. She was touching up her lipstick when she said, "You know, Derek always talks about how gorgeous his wife is. But I had no idea you were this stunning. He's always showing us your pictures and bragging about you." My blood ran cold. "He shows you my pictures?" "Oh, honey, yes. He's so proud of you. He's always going on about how smart and funny and beautiful you are. Why would you think otherwise?" That's when it hit me. Derek's family never had a problem with me. Derek had a problem with me. His own insecurities, his own issues with colorism, his own fears about what people would think. That's what this was about. His family had been expecting to meet the wonderful woman their nephew and cousin couldn't stop talking about. I spent the rest of the reception getting to know Derek's family, and they were lovely. His aunt invited me to her book club. His uncle asked about my job and was genuinely interested in my career. His grandmother held my hands and told me how happy she was that Derek had found someone who made him smile so much. Meanwhile, Derek sat at the head table, watching his lies unravel in real time. When we got home that night, I didn't say a word. I packed my bags while Derek tried to explain himself, tried to apologize, tried to convince me that he was just nervous about the wedding. But I was done listening to his excuses. "You told me I was too ugly to be seen with your family," I said calmly, zipping up my suitcase. "But your family loved me. Your grandmother asked me to come visit her next month. Your cousin wants me to be in her book club. So the problem was never me, Derek. The problem was you." He begged me to stay. He promised he'd change. That he'd never say anything like that again. But trust, once broken, can't be put back together with promises and apologies. I filed for divorce the following Monday. It's been 2 years now, and I can honestly say that going to that wedding was the best decision I ever made. Not just because it opened my eyes to who Derek really was, but because it reminded me who I really am. I'm not too much. I'm not too different. I'm not too ugly. I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be. I'm now in a relationship with someone who celebrates every part of me. Someone who loves my loud laugh and my big personality. Someone who tells me I'm beautiful every single day and means it. But most importantly, I learned to love myself again. Derek's cruel words could have destroyed me. They could have made me small and quiet and ashamed. Instead, they became the catalyst for me to remember my worth. Sometimes the worst thing someone can say to you becomes the best thing that ever happened to you. That wedding taught me that no one has the right to dim your light. No one gets to decide your worth. Not your husband, not your family, not anybody. You are beautiful exactly as you are. And anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve a place in your life. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe for more stories about finding your strength when the world tries to break you down. And remember, you are beautiful, you are worthy, and you deserve to be celebrated, not hidden. Drop a comment below and tell me about a time you had to choose yourself over someone else's opinion. Your story matters, and I read every single comment. Your worth is not up for debate.